comment, and I agree with you. I agree with CEO Ward, and I agree with you about your presentation and your basic approach. And I think it's hard for us to sit up here and complain like we always do about what the state is doing with their dismal budgets and then what the federal government is doing. They're running these huge deficits. If we don't turn around and do something about our deficit, and as we must, we have to step up and lead. No one's going to do this for us. We can't rely on them. We're going to have to do it ourselves. We know that the growth is, in those forecasts, the growth is going to be sluggish, and it augurs bad, for our future budgets. We know that. We know we're going to have some growth. We know it may or may not. It may not be enough. It's not going to be enough in the next 2 years for sure. So I'm repeating, like I've said before, I think we have to strive. We have to try to this year and next year structurally balance our budgets. And then after that, the natural growth may suffice to help us out. And if we can't, if that isn't, we're still going to have to continue to live within our means, because our reserves are such that we really can't go to them. We have to leave them there. We have to structurally balance from here forth. I mean, if we start, do it this year, we'll make it easier next year. If we do it next year, it'll make it easier after that. And then, we get the help from the employee share and our pension reform and a stronger economy, and we'll grow out of it. And maybe we'll be able to do some of these things we'd like to do. So I think we should direct our CEO and his strong financial team, led by our Chief Financial Officer, to do what's necessary to give us the options we can choose from to achieve these goals. So I think we're all saying we may have minor differences, but I doubt how to do it. But I think we all realize we have to get there. So I think we need to take action now for next year. That's 2013-14, is structurally balanced. I mean 2012-13, and then the year after that, the second year, 2013-14. And then I think we'll put her in a position maybe to grow through these economic doldrums. And so I say, and also I agree that we have to start saving some money up the jail. We're going to have to build a jail. We're going to be overrun with folks unless there's some dramatic change at the state level, the way they handle their prisons and we handle our jails. So I don't think we're going to have to do it ourselves. We're going to have to figure out a way to work it out. If we don't start structurally balancing now and figuring out a way to save some money going forward the next few years for that jail, we're going to be in a world of hurt. I think we have no choice. That's what we have to do.
Thank you, Supervisor Ashley. Supervisor Buster.
Yeah, Ed, before you leave, still got your hair. That's good. That's good.
That's good.
No, I think we all agree that the responsible thing to do here is to chart out a clear multi-year budget balancing and spending path here. And so that, of course, means that we start now, and we don't shirk from the necessary tasks. And had we not had pension reform, things would be cast in an even more difficult light here in the county. So there's a lot that's been done already. I think the basic assumptions as to what we're dealing with now are pretty clear. There's some other things that are kind of a little more difficult to deal with, but we've got to begin to deal with them. I'll just list a couple. Well, you listed the health care reforms, critical to the county, reposition ourselves in that way, and that really engages these agencies that we've put together kind of for various purposes that sometimes enwrap disparate types of departments or divisions and whatnot. So we need to have a look at that. I mean, the fact that growth is slower, the fact that all these new cities have formed so that we have less unincorporated population by, I guess, in real terms, but also as a proportion of the total county, and less area, too. Certainly that's a major change we have to look at, and that really, we have to turn our attention on the Transportation and Land Management Agency there. And it's going to take some time to engage those those functions in a detailed way so that you don't, so you don't unintentionally hamper key operations. I mean, that takes some real feedback and a lot of analysis first. So a lot of this is going to take some time. Now look at the Economic Development Agency with the loss of redevelopment. Yet we want to key in on certain types of investments here in the county that can do the most to spur economic activity and get higher quality jobs. So in a number of areas, we need more information. We need to make some organizational reforms, some really significant ones that are going to take the attention of quite a lot of your staff, Mr. Orr, which you're losing here today, losing some real veteran people. Hopefully you can have enough. If we're to really make the new county fit internally fit with what's going on in the larger county outside. All that's pretty tall orders, but I don't see any other way around it. And perhaps in the process we can start achieving some savings. But this analysis of our functions has to take place at the same time, and they need to go to all our key functions too, not just the ones I've mentioned.
Yes, we're looking this time at each department individually. That's why we're meeting with the managers to find out how they can make these reductions. Instead of doing across-the-board cuts and try to live with it and all that kind of thing, we need to look at what are the priorities for the board, and then we need to look at each department, the expectation of what they'll have to absorb in the way of added cost for their personnel, and how are you going to get from here to there. So it's got to be a team effort, or it's not going to work.
All right, thank you, Ed. Mr. Orr, thank you. You guys have a tremendous task ahead of you, but you've been able to move approval. A great job over the last few years, and I'm sure we'll get through. We have a motion, Supervisor Ashley, seconded by Supervisor Stone, to receive and file item 3.37. Please vote. Motion carries 4-0. Taking us to item, I have a question, Barbara, my apology, since I'm the one who asked you to put this on. This is a low discount prescription drug program through Coast to Coast, sponsored by CSAC and National League, National Association of Counties. I wanted to ask, I know there was an issue that came up and I just didn't follow through with it with you some time ago. Do the pharmacists have to pay an additional fee of $4 or something similar to this in order to allow this program? In other words, I went to my pharmacist yesterday. I asked him about the discount drug program, whether it be through Coast to Coast or the other one that we usually have. I forget who it was. Airmark. And there was an article in the newspaper a few months back that the pharmacists have to pay a processing fee of $4. Did we do some research on that? Do we know if in fact that is occurring? If it is, it seems like
Well, first of all, pharmacists pay a processing fee to the providers. We were not able to get information from the individual pharmacies. Their contracts are not public information. But we were assured that overall the differences between the two programs did not harm a pharmacist, that they paid a fee to either of the two providers.
Yeah, I understand that. And I guess that's my concern. And I realize I'm the one who asked you to research this and put this on. And we've had we've had Caremark, we're now going to Coast. However, if the pharmacist is having to charge a $4 fee, that's the amount, and we're getting a benefit from that, or the organization CSAC is getting the benefit from that, then it seems like we're cutting into the private sector's ability to make a profit. So that is a concern I have. Perhaps Supervisor Stone might know this as a pharmacist. That's something I think we may want to continue to look a little further into. Supervisor Stone.
Well, Mr. Chair, a lot of these cards are discount cards, and when a claim is transmitted from a pharmacy, they go through what's called a pharmacy benefits manager. They're really the ones that are making all the money at the expense of the pharmacies. So what the card does is it basically fixes the price of the medication with the acquisition cost plus maybe $1.25, $1.50. I mean, it's very, very small. So it's really a price fixing card is what it is. You go into a pharmacy, you get the card, and usually there's about a 10 to 20 cents transaction charge that goes to the pharmacy benefits manager, but they make more money from the manufacturers of the drugs that give them some preferential treatment if they keep certain drugs on formularies at the exclusions of others. So, and I'm sure that CSAC probably also gets some help financially, although I've never seen a pharmacy benefits manager charge $4 a transaction. I think you see every pharmacy saying, we're not accepting a card because they will actually be dispensing the medication below their cost, which they just cannot do. The chain stores wouldn't do it either, so.
So it sounds like it is not a bad idea. It allows for citizens and our employees to have that additional discount.
Exactly, and today, you know, with many people having insurance, and many of the chain stores have these, you know, 30-day supply for $4 on generics. It's probably cheaper to even utilize those special deals than to using these PBMs that usually allow a 30-day supply for a fixed amount that probably would even exceed that $4 per month that many of the chains and independents are honoring.
That's certainly true for some of the drugs, but in this particular case, we did not find out how it affected the pharmacists, but we were able to verify that the cost of the drugs and the range of drugs is better with this new coast-to-coast. You know, Caremark is not only a PBM, but also an owner of drug firms, so that they really aim more toward the drugs that they own. And this is a wider network. In addition to that, what we really like about this particular service is that they will take over the marketing. We've had very poor response with the Caremark program. There's been less than 300 people in the county that have used this program. And with the kind of marketing that Coast to Coast will be doing, we expect that to be much wider in terms of being advertised and in terms of being used. So we'll watch it carefully. It's a one-year contract at a time. We did attempt to have both of them available, and Caremark was not interested in that arrangement. So. Okay.
Good. Well, thank you for the clarification, Barbara, and also Supervisor Stone. Appreciate it very much. I will move approval of item 3.41. A motion and a second. Please vote. Supervisor Buster. Motion carries 4-0. Taking us to speakers on item 3.42, Britt Holstrom, followed by Julie Waltz.
From what I know, again, I'm part of the public, so I am not privileged to all the details that you have. But from what I know, this involves at least two things that I'm interested in, and that is separating the parolee housing from other residents. I'm in favor of that, and also making the well, let's deal with that one. I am sandwiched between two houses. For years, for 4 years, I've been sandwiched between two houses that not only have gangs, but the owners of the houses have every month gone down to the county jails and the drug institutions, and during the night accepted them into the houses so they become my neighbors. Every time I leave, I'm missing things, both in the house and outside. It has been very costly. You call the sheriff is not interested because they're not there when the thefts are taken. And it's cost me a lot of grief. I'm afraid of leaving my house, and I'm actually sometimes afraid of even being there, because these faces are not known to me and they're nameless. And the people that own the houses will not let me into what the identities are. When the sheriff comes, they have defenses go across property so the sheriff's car cannot trail them when they want to check on their parole status. It is a constant safety problem, nuisance problem, and a property deterioration problem. Now, those are not the kind of houses you're talking about with this. Evidently, from what I understand, you are thinking about having actual houses applied for and resided in by people who themselves are parolees. Is that correct? Well, you can't answer the question here, but I would like somebody in your offices to let me know. This problem about parolees and them being integrated temporarily into our shifting neighborhoods is absolutely dangerous, and you need to rework the entire system. This is not a patchwork. You need to study it and rework it so that we, the rest of the community, can live safely within it. And again, I will be writing to the board about this. It has taken years, and we are not getting any attention from our safety officers or from the board. And I have many times contacted at least Mr. Buster's office about this. I do not feel safe under the circumstances. You can add drugs to this, and you can add not getting a job when you get out to this. They have no place to go, so they get into trouble, and they bring us into trouble with it, and our lifestyle deteriorates. So please, do what you can. We are doing what we can. We've got to work together. This is not either you or I.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Julie Waltz, followed by Rebecca Ludwig.
Good morning, everyone. As you know, I have been very passionate about this issue. These parolee homes, group homes, et cetera, and they do commingle parolees in with the developmentally disabled. And I don't know, you know what would really be nice is if some of the people from the community could sit in on this when you gentlemen decide to make this ordinance. I notice you're going to invite the Sheriff's Department to sit in and give their feedback. I think you should invite some of the public to sit in when you're bringing this ordinance forward, because I would like to point out to you, remember that little fella, Donald Smith, that wasn't going to be paroled to Riverside County? I don't know if you gentlemen are aware of it, but he was paroled to Riverside County. The gentleman that was supposed to be in the juvenile justice system, and that's what brought this whole thing forward about stopping the urgency ordinance on the parolee homes. This gentleman ended up being paroled to Riverside County to a halfway house. He violated his parole and moved to Long Beach, and he's reincarcerated now. Is anybody on this board aware of that? I'll take that as a no. But how are you going to stop a situation like this from going into a parolee home when this gentleman was incarcerated in the juvenile justice system, and he was 39 years old and he was still in the juvenile justice system? And he's not on the Megan's website as a sex offender. He's not a registered sex offender. What are you going to do to change a situation like this? You need to really work on going up to Sacramento and getting the laws changed. But that probably won't happen either because we have so many people that believe these people, these sex offenders, can be rehabilitated. Well, they cannot be rehabilitated because they reoffend. And this is a case right here. You went to bat, especially you, Mr. Ashley, you told all the people in Paris that this gentleman wasn't going to come to the Riverside County. The newspapers wrote articles that he was not going to come to Riverside County. But he came to Riverside County anyway. He was paroled in June. And he violated his parole. How are you going to stop this? I don't think you can, because under the Constitution of the United States of America, they're entitled to the same protections we are. So what are we going to do? How are you going to keep these parolee homes away from schools? How are you going to keep them away from children? Dokich had an ankle bracelet on, and he still went ahead and he went to that pool hall and he...
Thank you, Ms. Waltz. Ms. Ludwig, you have 6 minutes, 3 minutes provided to you by Gary Grant.
Good morning, Board. I wanted to talk on this item specifically because I reside in Rubidoux. I also grew up in East LA. I'm very familiar with this type of what's going to look like going to be one of my neighbors soon. And as concerned as a lot of these people are, I'd like to just tell you, and there's nothing you can do about it, so the best thing to do is try to get along, believe it or not, and be respectful when you see these people rather than judging them. I know that's easier said than done. What really concerns me is that the probation department is going to be involved in this, the DA office is going to be involved in this, the Department of Mental Health. So that means we're going to have people that are not operating with both oars in the water. And that is in my opinion. So when you're establishing programs geared to reintegrating these inmates, releasing them into the Riverside County, which we already have an abundance of, especially in county areas. I feel sorry for our law enforcement, but I even feel more sorry for the residents in the county now. I know that this has to be done. I know why. But after reading some of these things here, they seem to have more rights than we do, the taxpayer. The use must be compatible with neighboring uses. The use must not result in harm to the health and safety of the general welfare of the surrounding neighborhoods, and substantial adverse impacts on adjoining properties or land uses will not result. I really got to see this being enforced. I really do, because they haven't so far. Seriously, I just told Mr. Stone not too long ago about all the pedophiles we have on Tilton. And his solution, everybody was happy for this when he passed an ordinance to turn on a porch light for Halloween. Well, Mr. Stone, I'd like you to pass another ordinance, seriously, so that all of these people that are coming out here now can turn on another light so they can signal us to be on guard. Because a lot of these people don't know, especially in low-income areas like Rubidoux, have no clue that these people are getting out and that they're going to be one of their neighbors. And there's kids here. And as well-intended as this may be here, written up, it sounds great in theory. The one that blows my mind here is the parolee petitioner, probationer home must not be located within 1,000 feet of any of the following. A daycare facility. That's going to be interesting because it's already happening. A public or private school. A public or private school bus stop. I don't know if any of you've seen the people that come out, the kids that come out of just Rubidoux Middle School. It looks like a swarm of ants. There's just no way these guys are going to sit in their room 24/7 and something not happen. I'm really worried about what's going to happen here, seriously. A park, a public library. Oh, here we go again with the Rubidoux Library, Mr. Tavaglione. Public swimming and wading pool. I mean, I just can't believe some of the, I encourage everybody to get a copy of this agenda item. You can get it from the clerk of the board, 3.42. But I don't know how you're going to manage this at all. And I'm not worried about me. I'm 70. I could care less now. Anybody wants to do anything to me, have at it. But I'm thinking about the kids, and we have a lot of them, especially in county. Please let the public know what if anything you can do to kind of correct what's going on here. But please, everybody, I know they have to do this. Please try and give your law enforcement some support. Please be more aware of your surroundings and cognizant of your neighbors so that you can help law enforcement and maybe a good neighbor about the dangers that are happening here. I will get the word out on this because this is extremely important. Thank you very much.
Supervisor Stone?
Is there no more speakers?
No more speakers.
Well, first of all, as the board knows, we've had a moratorium that's going to be expiring here in July, and the law requires us to have an ordinance in place. If we had a magic wand and could keep that moratorium in perpetuity, believe me, I would be here in supporting it, but knowing that we can't, we have to come up with an ordinance, and I think we're moving in the right direction, requiring a conditional use permit. Use must be compatible with neighboring uses, must not cause harm to the health and safety and general welfare of the public, must be located in an area where there's public transportation and necessary support services like mental health and other county services. There's a provision to avoid the overconcentration, so that there's a certain distance between parolee homes so we don't create a parolee probation or ghetto in Riverside County. If a parolee probationer home must not be located within 1,000 feet of any of the following: child care facility, public, private school, public or private bus stop, park, public library, swimming pool, etc. I'd like staff to look at the possibility of extending that to 2,500 feet or a half a mile. I think 1,000 feet is too close. Sufficient on-site parking must be provided. Both indoor and outdoor common areas must be provided on the particular site. The difference between this ordinance and what we've been able to do in the past is it requires a permit from the county, a conditional use permit that can be revoked in the event that the property owners are not complying with the county ordinance. So I think this is a good step forward. I think we're going to have a very strict, very tight ordinance. Staff has provided a timeline that costs them around $24,000, which they're required to do, and we should have this in place right at the beginning or during the month of July in the new fiscal 12-13 year, and I'm supportive of that and I'll move staff recommendation.
Thank you, Supervisor Stone. I'll second your motion. We have a second by Supervisor Ashley. Please vote. Motion carries 4-0. That concludes our policy calendar. We now go to our successor agency, to the redevelopment agency, items 4.1 and 4.2. I will move approval of both those items.
Second.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion is unanimous 4-0. Now taking us to items